So we can get started. So today we have our Precisely panel. They're going to be joining us, and we're going to be learning a little bit more about kind of what they do, marketing and tech, their co-op position. So yeah, let's get into it. So on our agenda for today, we have a NUMA agency update. So I'm sure if you guys have been to any of our meetings before, you've heard about NUMA agency. It's our new marketing consulting program, and applications close on the 29th. So that's coming up. So if you're interested in applying, please get that in soon. And I believe the QR codes that are in this presentation, you can just scan that. It'll take you to our linked tree or our link tree, and that'll that will give you an option like to click on the application, so you'll be able to apply through there. Yep, and without further ado, let's get into our Precisely panel. And there's that QR code if you want to scan it. Go for it. So let's welcome our panelists. We have Melissa Kelly, who's the Corporate Marketing Manager at Precisely. We have Matthew Berman, who is a Marketing Operations Specialist, and Maria. Do you guys want to give us a little introduction about yourself, kind of like your background, how you ended up at Precisely, things like that?
Sure. I'm happy to jump in just because I'm first on the slide. Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa, Corporate Marketing Manager at Precisely. I'm also Chief of Staff for our CMO, Kevin Ruane. I was a Northeastern student, and I did 3 co-ops as well. You know, I majored in both finance and marketing, and I find that I use both of those, you know, in my current position at Precisely. But I actually joined Precisely before we rebranded. So I joined a company called SyncSort at the time, which was sort of a former iteration of Precisely. And yeah, I'm going on my, I think, I'm 3.5 years in now at Precisely, and it's been a great journey, a great ride, and I can't wait to tell you guys more about it. So.
And I'll go next. So like Melissa, I also did 5 years at Northeastern and did 3 co-ops. And my very final co-op was also when Precisely was still called SyncSort. And I co-opted there and worked part-time the next semester in the spring, and I graduated you know, this past spring and started working full-time at Precisely starting in July. And it's been an absolutely crazy journey, especially with the acquisition and, you know, everything that happens with COVID, working from home the entire time. So, but it's been a great experience so far.
Awesome. And then Maria, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go next. So I'm a current Northeastern student. I'm actually in international business, but my concentrations are same as Melissa, marketing and finance. And so this was my first co-op, and I applied while Precisely was also SyncSort, so the rebranding was pretty recent. But I applied because I was interested in AI, and particularly in the role that marketing plays in that field. So that's what attracted me to Precisely.
Awesome. That was actually super cool to kind of like see the progression. We've got, you know, Melissa, who's in a pretty far along role at Precisely, higher up, a Northeastern grad, and then we have Matt, who's just recently graduated now full-time, and Maria, who just did her co-op. That's like kind of a cool, like, you know, Northeastern 1, 2, 3 steps in the career process over at Precisely. That's really nice to see.
We're slowly taking over.
Exactly. Yeah. Fantastic. So now we know a little bit about you guys. Let's go a little bit more into, you know, what does Precisely do? Tell us about the industry, company, what you guys, you know, do, your main product, maybe like competitors in your field, anything else you think is relevant.
Sure, I'm happy to jump in. So Precisely, we were sort of born in May of this past year is when we officially announced our rebranding. So we were formed when SyncSort and Pitney Bowes software and data combined. So that brought together sort of decades of experience and expertise in handling and processing and transforming data. So, we recently had completed the acquisition of Pitney Bowes Software and Data, and kind of coming out of that, it was time to rebrand, right? And really, have a brand that stood for the best of both. So SyncStore, specialized sort of in optimizing, integrating, and advancing data. And Pitney Bowes Software and Data historically, really was focused on customer information management, location intelligence, data enrichment, and then customer engagement solutions. And so Precisely sort of brings together the best of both of those businesses, and we're really focused on something called data integrity, which is accuracy, consistency, and context. So that's kind of the space that we're playing in now. But we have 12,000 enterprise customers, including 90 of the Fortune 100, and we operate in 100 countries worldwide. So pretty exciting.
Oh, go ahead.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. That was great.
Well, Matt, Maria, I don't know if you have anything that you want to add.
Yeah, I don't know if I could have said it any better than you just said it. I mean, I think you got it like pretty thoroughly.
I usually just like to say, if you're an individual, you probably haven't heard of Precisely, but if you're a company, you definitely have heard of Precisely. And yeah, when anyone asks me, who do you work for, they never have any clue. But we really are in so many of the Fortune 500 companies, and just vital to keeping like data enriched and keeping it moving.
Cool. I like that. Like, if you're an individual, you haven't heard of us, but if you're a company, you definitely have. I like that little phrase. And that kind of flows into my next question. I was going to ask you that what is Precisely's main audience? So then you guys are more B2B then, clearly. So I maybe would not have known what you did individually, but a company would. So clearly B2B, but so who specifically do you market to? Who's your audience, and how do you go about reaching them? So how do you find a new client?
I feel like I've been talking a lot. Matt, Maria, do either of you want to jump in? I'm happy to jump in too.
I can go over kind of who we target individually at these companies, just because I work very closely with creating segments that we use for marketing. So the general idea is to send it to people who work heavily in IT. There's different campaigns we have where we want to target different levels of the company. So sometimes we'll just have an entire segment strictly going to the VPs of IT and operations at different companies, whereas other campaigns are more targeted towards just directors of IT. But we really do hit all different industries. I was trying to see what Melissa would say about this, but I don't feel there's one specific industry we really focus on.
Yeah, and I can kind of add on about how we target them. So obviously we have summits, we have webcasts, and we take the leads, which is basically data from the people.com, and we do lead uploads where we format the data and make sure that all of them are liable leads, and then we kind of reach out to them sometimes, just follow up and see if they're interested in actually purchasing our product. That's kind of one way. That's actually a role that the co-op program would offer for you. So that's something that we kind of participate in the targeting part.
And I can provide a little bit of context as well, just around sort of the different functions that we have in marketing. So we have a corporate communications and brand team. We're very focused on web, SEO, Matt and Maria have both referenced, we have a global marketing services team, which includes marketing operations. That includes our campaigns. We also, in our marketing department, we have sales enablement, and we have product marketing as well. So we really do have quite an integrated marketing mix in terms of how we go to market. Webinars, as Maria mentioned, great tool. We do email marketing, we do digital advertising. When we're not living in a COVID world, we do in-person events. Now we do digital events. So really, it's if you're looking for a well-rounded experience from a co-op perspective, I think that there's a lot that you can learn with us at Precisely.
Awesome. That's, oh, sorry, was someone about to say something else? Okay, it's a little hard to tell with like all the different sounds that come through Zoom, but great. So we've talked kind of a bit about what the company does and things like that. Kind of going more into the personal side of things. What is the company culture like, and what do you guys personally like about working at Precisely?
I can start this one off. One thing I really want to highlight is it was unfortunate timing, but the Burlington office here in Massachusetts was renovated from, I think it was like October to February or something like that. And then, coronavirus happened. So we only got to enjoy the office for about a couple weeks. But no, it's a large company with definitely a startup feel to it. The office is pretty open, but it's, just a very, good place to work. Everybody is very passionate about, pushing the company forward and to, achieve goals, not only achieve them, but like, surpass them. So it's really nice to just be surrounded by, people who, want to do their best to succeed.
Yeah, I agree with that completely, Matt. And not only that, obviously everyone is trying to push the company forward, but people aren't forgetting about helping like their coworkers. When I was a co-op, since this was my first co-op, I didn't really know a lot about what I was doing, and everyone was super willing to help. I could always text Matt or Melissa if I had a question, and they would answer it pretty much right away. And I definitely texted Matt a lot during my co-op, and he was always super willing to help. And it's not just my team. I could honestly reach out to anyone. I worked with a few people outside of my team, and they were always super responsive and super willing to explain things to me and make sure that I really understood. And I was really getting the best experience out of, my co-op.
And I can just weigh in too on what Matt and Maria have already said. So I love going to work. I just like to lead kind of with that when answering this question. I don't know if that makes me a dork, but I truly, I love logging on. I love the people that we work with. Everybody, to Matt and Maria's point, are just so hardworking, are so ready to lend a helping hand. Just a really passionate group of people, and just an excitement too. I think it's a really exciting time to be at Precisely. With this new rebrand, the coming together of two legacy businesses, it just feels like there's a lot of opportunity. And I just, I so enjoy going to work every day. One other thing I just want to highlight that I really appreciate is I think that there's a great level of transparency throughout all levels of the organization. So, we have quarterly all hands meetings. We have monthly marketing all hands meetings. We get weekly communications from our leadership team. I really feel like throughout the organization, there's a great level of transparency. And for me, that's something that I really appreciate about working at Precisely.
Oh, I have one more thing to add, and it's kind of that we have a sense of community in our job, even though, we have 100, countries that we work with. We have many offices globally, even like in the US, we have several offices, but you kind of get to know who you work with. And we have a bunch of like cute little events. Like for Mardi Gras, we had like a little food feast party. So it's just kind of cute that, you know, like, yeah, everyone's super hardworking, but we always remember to like get together and like enjoy ourselves. And, you know, on the day of rebranding, we had a little celebration where like we all just got to talk and get to know each other a little bit more. We played two truths and one lie. So like that was just a little fun event. And also this was like my personal little weekly highlight was we have like bagel Thursdays, which are always super good and great because I'm always hungry, and I think Melissa would know I would always be eating at work. So that would just like cheer me up every Thursday.
I love that. There's nothing better than that, like free food when you first get into work. Be awesome. And sorry, Matt.
Bagel Thursdays was very exciting.
Yeah.
Much more difficult in a COVID environment. There have not been Bagel Thursdays recently, but I've been having my own Bagel Thursday. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I just want to touch on one of the points Maria brought up as well, which is like that Precisely truly is a like global company. And so for anyone that's looking to get experience, like working, you know, just with everyone around the world, like, you know, bolstering their communication skills, because, you know, it is very important to like have those skills and to grow them because you're working with people that aren't sitting directly next to you. It's just really interesting to like see the differences in how you market in Europe and, you know, Asia Pacific versus how we market here in the US.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really great to look at it kind of that global perspective. Definitely not something you get everywhere. So that's super exciting. Something that you mentioned, Melissa, was that you had a lot of opportunity with kind of the rebranding. And while things are difficult with the virtual and, you know, the whole like COVID shift, from Numa's perspective, we've been looking at it as there's a lot of opportunities. So we're trying to take advantage of all of that. And I was kind of wondering, what do you guys, like, how did Precisely adapt to a virtual work landscape? Do you think it's different or easier in the tech industry? And, you know, like what opportunities did you guys try to seize in this whole, you know, massive shift in the workplace?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a great question. So what I will say is I think that in terms of Precisely marketing, we've always tried to lead with sort of this digital first sort of approach. And, you know, that now more than ever is really kind of being put to the test, right? Because we're all digital all the time. What I will say is we have a really great, robust webinar program, you know, that we've been able to kind of continue the momentum and build on that strength. You know, we have the email marketing capabilities, the digital advertising. We've had a really digital approach, which has been great. I think for me, where I see a lot of the difference sort of come in is obviously we're not doing in-person events. And then also it's just in terms of the cultural piece, right? Like I think that, you know, for those of us, and I'm one of them, who would go into the office every day from 9 to 5, it is a change. I know that before, you know, COVID happened, we weren't doing really many video calls at all. And we're a pretty like dispersed team, not only across the US, but also across the globe. And so, you know, phone calls were very common, but we wouldn't do video calls. And now, I mean, you know, we're all trying to kind of connect, you know, via video more. I think it just adds a nice element of being able to talk to someone face to face, right? And adapt in that way. But yeah, I think it's just a little bit harder, right? I think we're all feeling it to sort of connect. I mean, I think that, you know, we've been trying to do activities as a marketing team that really kind of foster those kind of in-person interactions that we have. So we'll do, you know, coffee breaks or happy hours. We had small video challenges, or we've done, as Maria said, 2 truths and a lie. So we're trying to kind of work in those human elements, I like to call them, because I think it is so important, right? And you read all these studies now, especially too, about just burnout that can happen, about like an extending, work day. And I think it's really important you have to set your own boundaries. And I also think just trying to find those moments of levity, right? Like we all work tremendously hard. But I think that, just making sure that you're bringing those moments in, it's really good. It's healthy. So that's a bit from a culture perspective. But, from a marketing perspective, as I mentioned sort of at the beginning, it's just, we've really had quite a digital first strategy. And more than anything, this just allows us to kind of continue to execute on that. And that's been really great. Thankfully, we're pretty well equipped to be able to work remote. So.
Cool. Yeah. Do you think you guys are better equipped because you're kind of coming from, and do you think you were kind of taking that digital approach and better equipped because you're coming from like the tech industry? Is it precisely specific? Is the question unclear?
I think from my perspective, it's a little bit hard for me to weigh in on that, only because I have never worked in consumer marketing. And so I just don't know all of the challenges that they're facing. I'm sure there are many, and it's hard for me to compare to kind of our experience in tech. That said, I mean, definitely, I think the fact that like we don't have a physical product is helpful. I think that the fact that we're all equipped with our laptops, and we have these sort of we use like Microsoft Teams, or you guys, it seems you use Zoom, but we have these capabilities to connect, right? Like, I think because of that, we had that infrastructure. We were lucky. Whereas I think there are probably other organizations that had to figure it out a little bit more from scratch. So, but Matt, Maria, I don't know if you have a different perspective on that.
Yeah, well, not a different one. I was just going to kind of add on to that. Not only were we lucky with like our capabilities and just like our product itself, I think also something that our company, precisely really got down was our priorities, and shifting, priority a little bit from like external events, like more smaller projects really onto our employees. I'm sure you guys are aware, like a lot of co-ops lost their position because of COVID. And precisely, and this is something I'm super thankful for, really did our best to let us keep our position. Matt and I were both able to continue virtually, and we didn't really have to lay anyone off due to COVID because we kind of were able to prioritize these positions rather than like our product or smaller projects. So I think that's something that also is very telling about our company and how we were able to handle this. And this isn't necessarily relating to the fact that we're a tech company, but just more relates, again, a little bit to our culture.
Yeah. And I really think like another way that our company's culture helped us transition from in-person to everything virtual go a little smoother is it's also the fact that we're spread out all around the world. And so at least for marketing, it's not just like the Americas region does their own thing, the EMEA region does their own thing, the APAC region does their own thing. All of these different regions are working with each other to kind of put out the best possible promotion. So you already have that, not in person, virtual communication going around, a lot of the time. Now it's just all the time. So I think it wasn't too difficult of a transition to go from, in person to virtual for a lot of the members.
Awesome. I like that idea of like having all these different branches like supporting each other. It's like a network as opposed to, we have all these different branches, but they're all on their own. It's nice that you guys have that like kind of support network between your branches. That's great. So we've talked about kind of your experience and marketing within tech. Do any of you have any experience? Oh, actually, sorry. So what does marketing more broadly in tech look like? Perhaps maybe not so specifically from a Precisely perspective. Do you guys think you do things differently at Precisely than other tech companies do in your space? Or do you guys think you guys follow kind of the overall, tech trends?
Yeah, I can jump in. So I think that there are, a number of trends kind of at Precisely that apply kind of across the industry, right? One thing I will say, and I'm just going to pivot the question just a little bit, is, what I think I was least prepared for when I went on my first and second co-ops. My second co-op specifically was when I started to transition into tech, was just how data-driven all of the decision making is. When I was a freshman or a sophomore, I thought very much about marketing in terms of, design and messaging and things like that. And don't get me wrong, there's an element of all of that in marketing, but there is a very, very big piece too, just around being super metrics focused and data driven. And I mean, the decisions we're making are based on data. And so for me, after I was on my second co-op, and I was in a marketing operations role, so I was working with data all the time. I just really realized that was something that I needed to hone more of a skill around, because I thought it was something that would continue to keep popping up kind of in my career in marketing, and it has. And so that's actually why I picked up the finance major. At the time, it sounds like there may be more of sort of like a marketing and data sort of major now. I'm not exactly sure. But at the time when I was a student, there wasn't anything like that. We had, a few classes that were focused on stats and things like that. But, so I picked up the finance major just because I wanted to be able to understand numbers and really speak the language. And so, I think that that's something that is kind of consistent across the board, not just at Precisely, but across the tech industry. Like, make no mistake about it, like, data is driving many, many, many of the decisions that are being made in marketing. So, can you still see me? My screen went black.
Oh, yeah. I wonder. Yeah, we can see you. That's strange.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you see us?
No problem. I might need to reboot and rejoin. I don't know what happened. Everything just went black, but I'm glad that you guys can still see me.
We'll let you back in.
Okay.
All right. Sorry, Matt. Were you going to?
Yeah, I think what Melissa said really rings true to the tech, the software industry in general. I know for my second co-op, I also worked at a software company that strictly did B2B. So it was, I saw a lot of similarities in terms of just like the huge volume of like email marketing that was done. The fact that once you send an email out, like, it's not done and over with, you have to go back to it. And even if it doesn't perform well, like, there's still just invaluable insights that are gained from it. And you have to kind of keep on tweaking, keep on seeing what will get the best response. And so, yeah, I really do feel like, these software B2B companies, or just software companies in general, are so data focused, and so many of the decisions are just made around this data.
Awesome. I do think a lot of people come into marketing kind of with that vision of like thinking very heavily about design and, phrasing and stuff. And you're right, that is important, but the data is definitely, an ever growing and more important part of marketing. And I think that's super, super great that you touched on that. And, Yes, Northeastern actually did add a marketing analytics concentration, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it. So if you guys are seeing any co-op applications with that on it, that's why, because it exists now. So um, I think Northeastern must have recognized the need for that. Okay. Sorry, were you about to say something?
Sorry, I was just very, very cool. You know, I wish that had been around when I was a student. It's great to see that that's being worked into the curriculum.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a super good move. I think they added it maybe last year. I don't remember. Last year or a year and a half ago. It's there now. So you guys recently rebranded from SyncSort to Precisely. You guys talked about that, kind of the merging of two companies. So obviously, once you combined, you had to kind of do this big rebrand. Was there a reason you specifically chose Precisely? Was there like a brand image reasoning behind that? And then kind of what did the transition look like from an internal perspective? What did you guys have to do for that? And yeah, so like what were the kind of marketing purposes of Precisely specifically?
Sure. So I can speak to that a little bit. So so we engaged with an external brand agency to kind of do this large analysis, right, of our space and what resonates with customers, and also, you know, take into account sort of both of our legacies, and you know, Precisely, it kind of just speaks to, right, what our product portfolio is all about and about that focus on data integrity. We really wanted to focus on a word that, you know, is recognizable. It's a real word. It's not a made up word. And, you know, it's one of those things that was really informed by research, by employee. We also had a lot of employee sessions as well to get input from across the business. And then, you know, we kind of went through this whole process with a brand agency, and there were lots of iterations and, you know, ideas thrown out. And I mean, it was a really exciting process. And, you know, Precisely is where we landed, and it seems to be really resonating in the market. So that's great. From an internal perspective, you know, I mentioned, you know, we engaged employees around the early stages of the rebranding when we were still doing some of that initial research. But we also, you know, we launched our brand during COVID time, right? So we had planned for it not to be a COVID time. We'd actually planned to launch our brand, or at least, excuse me, preview our brand at a couple of in-person events. Those were canceled, so we had to pivot. But what we did from an internal perspective is, you know, we had an all-employee all-hands. We had brand celebrations as teams. There was a lot of cross-functional work that went on behind the scenes in the lead-up to the brand launch. You know, we had representatives from different functions coming to, you know, a bi-weekly meeting, and Maria was a part of those meetings to really, you know, bring forth perspectives from, you know, different areas of the business, because the reality is, yes, while it was a marketing-led initiative, right, a rebranding affects the entire company, and it has, you know, implications across the whole business. And so it truly was kind of, you know, a joint effort. And, you know, I think it turned out pretty well. I love our new brand, but Maria, Matt, I don't know if you have anything else that you want to add.
I think what's important to just like keep in mind is that as much as we had to, you know, bring awareness to our new brand and educate, you know, the prospects and our own customers out there, at the same time, you have to educate the employees internally. You can't have people over the phone talking about SyncSort anymore. It has to be Precisely. You can't have marketing use an old template because it doesn't, you know, it doesn't look good anymore. It doesn't represent what this new company is. So I think that was not only it was a big challenge, but I think, you know, employees adapted pretty quickly. And I know there was a lot of just materials sent out and a lot of just reminders about that.
And
Yeah.
Matt, if I can add to that too, because that's a really great point, and I was remiss not to mention it, but we did, to that point about educating employees, right, as we had brand trainings. We had a brand training series that went on, and the whole purpose of that series was just to educate our employees around our new brand and, you know, our tone of voice and our visual identity, and to really, you know, bring everybody along on the journey with us. But yeah, Matt, that was a great point, and, you know, something that was a really big piece of the internal engagement around the new brand.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about what Melissa mentioned with those bi-weekly meetings that I would go to. It really gave me a lot of insight onto what exactly goes on in a rebranding, kind of like what Matt mentioned. There's a lot more to it than you really think. Like, we had to change every single like piece of marketing material externally facing. We had to go into our APIs and change, you know, any mention of sync sort there. We had to like rename a lot of our products. And it was, you know, obviously a challenge to meet deadlines, especially in a COVID environment. Um, but I definitely would say, you know, like, it was so worth it. It really united the two brands. It kind of gave us a little bit of a fresh start. It allowed us to adjust our tone based on, like, you know, what we needed to do moving forward now that we're a joined company. And for those who maybe don't know, you know, Pitney Bowes Software and Data is a pretty big company. So, you know, merging together, it wasn't like we acquired a little small, like, you know, little small company. So I feel like the fact that we, you know, rebranded and became a new one kind of also made us more cohesive with the members of Pitney Bowes Software and Data that we're now working with. And kept us less separate and really brought us into one team.
Awesome. Those are all awesome perspectives. I like you all had something different to say about that, which was super great. I think a rebranding is such a massive thing for a company to do. So really cool to get your perspective on that. So now,
And if I may, I just wanted to say, you know, what a cool experience too. I have to say, not only for me, but Matt and Maria. You know, Matt, I know you were in sort of a part-time co-op role, and then Maria as a co-op. Just being able to be kind of on the ground level of a corporate rebrand, like, just such a unique learning opportunity. And for me, I know, I mean, I learned so much from getting to be a part of it. It's kind of a marketer's dream, right? To be able to be part of a rebranding, not only, you know, talking about a product rebranding, but an overall company rebranding. So, you know, I think hopefully, Matt, Maria, you both feel like, you know, it's been a really worthwhile experience for both of you.
Oh yeah, for sure. I learned so much from the rebranding. I was really glad I got to be a part of it and help like change some of the externally facing materials that we had, as well as sit in on the meetings. It was definitely not exactly what I expected would happen during a rebrand. So yeah, it was really cool to, you know, kind of get to see everything behind the scenes.
Yeah, I had a little less experience with actually, doing things for the rebrand. I know I was involved in conversations, but I just remember brand day being like, it could be probably my favorite day of work I've ever had. And I was just sitting in my bedroom, working from home, but like you could really feel the energy from the entire company. And it was like, it was just such a cool experience to be a part of. And that huge Zoom call was just like all smiling faces. So yeah, it was just a really cool experience.
nice. It's kind of awesome to get that perspective about how it's cool from like a branding perspective. Like now we're like this whole new thing, but like that it's fun for the, you know, the employees too, that it's kind of this new, it's, you know, frontier for you guys, and it's fun and great. Awesome to get that perspective. I don't know if that would be something that naturally comes to someone when you say, you know, rebrand. Like, so that's pretty exciting. And so we've got, you're all Northeastern alums, or, you know, Maria, you're still here, but we wanted to talk a little bit about your co-op program. So what co-ops do you offer, and what is like the main function of your co-op?
Yeah, so I can hop in on that. So we only offer the marketing operations role currently. We do have internship roles as well. So if you don't want a full-time co-op, you can always apply for an internship, or if you have friends who are looking for an internship, we do have that position available as well. But for our co-op, I guess I'll just like kind of go through some of my like daily tasks. I would build out emails, I would track CRs, I'd also build out HTMLs to send to our sales representatives, and that would kind of go into, targeting and acquiring customers. I would, sometimes help Melissa. Something that was really cool about my role was that I kind of had two managers. I had Melissa, and then I had Jackie, who was more directly correlated with marketing operations. So, when I would help Melissa, I would help consolidate slide information, help create presentations. While I was still in the office, I would help, coordinate and track some of our live events and summits. I also worked on, finding a new corporate vendor store for our company, which was a really cool project. Honestly, it was probably my favorite project that I worked on during my co-op. And even though we didn't get to, go through with signing the contract because of COVID, I was able to complete like all the steps in finding one and kind of getting us decided on what we were going to do. And Matt had a lot more experience this than I did, but we would do lead uploads. I would pull like marketing metrics every week, just to kind of keep, see how our marketing material was doing, and kind of use that information to figure out what we should do and change. And I would pull that for, Kevin, which is our marketing chief officer, or our chief marketing officer, sorry. And then I also helped out with the rebranding, by changing all of our externally facing sales material into our new brand look.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead on a question or not here, but I know one of the biggest reasons that I decided to co-op at then SyncSort, now Precisely, is you could really tell how much the employees cared about the co-op position and how important it was to the company. I spoke with Melissa during the interview. I spoke with Jackie and Jen, who's the head of the global marketing services, and they just sounded so excited to have me as their co-op. And they really did deliver on their promises. Like they, at working there, like I knew like they really cared about the work I was doing. They wanted to check up on me like all the time, just to see if there's anything that could be improved. Things that I liked so that they could continue doing. And again, Kevin, our CMO, is also just a huge supporter of the co-op program. He's one of the nicest, like friendliest guys like you will meet. And he really was just like, to have, the chief marketing officer just so invested in your success at the company is just, it's a really great feeling.
Awesome. All right. Melissa, did you want to say anything? Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on, to both Matt and Maria's comments. So I'll just start with Matt's first. But we have great support for our co-op program internally, which is awesome. Our main priority is making sure that students are getting meaningful work. We think it's a two-way street. Like, we're so lucky we get to bring somebody on board who can apply some great focus to important projects for us. And in turn, we hope that our students get just a really great experience. That they can walk away from saying, I helped drive that, or I accomplished this. So Matt kind of hit the nail on the head. We have some great support internally for the program. So that is, definitely a great thing. And then also, I just wanted to comment on Maria's comment about the Marketing Operations Co-op. So for the spring 2021 cycle, we're actually expanding that role a little bit. So while there will be, still that focus on some of the operational pieces that Maria was talking about, and also sort of the campaign pieces such as email marketing, digital advertising, we are looking to expand and make it kind of a corporate marketing co-op, in that students will get more of a well-rounded experience across various teams within marketing. So some of the feedback that we've gotten in the past is just, what a valuable experience it is to be able to try different things and work with different teams. And so, we're kind of structuring it this way for the spring 2021 cycle, so that students do get the opportunity to, try something in corporate communications or do a project with product marketing, continue to support and build out those skills in marketing operations and campaigns. So I just wanted to clarify that for any of you that may be interested in applying. We are really looking to kind of just further expand the role.
Awesome. That's super exciting to hear. It's really great to get, all of the things that Maria said, and then maybe that extra stuff with the, more of a corporate marketing role. That sounds exciting. So we talked a little bit about how important, kind of marketing analytics is, that sort of thing. Are there any particular qualities or skills that you look for in a co-op candidate? If someone is coming to Precisely saying, I want to apply for, their co-op, what would you want them to bring to the table?
Yeah, so for me, I would say that I really appreciate students who are self-starters. Things are moving really fast at Precisely, and being able to take a project and run with it, that's huge. That's really helpful. I also think just, expressing a passion for the co-op, for the work that you're doing. We all spend so much time together, like working with one another. And that kind of energy is really contagious. And I think just, approaching co-op with the perspective of, I want to learn something new every day, is really great. I find that, some of the harder skills, those can be taught, like HTML, for example, like that's something that, you can learn on the job with us. But it's really, for me, just expressing that excitement, that passion, being able to articulate why you're interested in marketing, why you're interested in Precisely. I think those are all really important parts of the interview process for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that definitely, is something that's apparent with a lot of people that work there. And, as a candidate, that is something that, the company is looking for from you. I do have a few more points that I guess you can just take to like self-reflect and see if this is something that, you're good with, and then, see if maybe it's something you need to work on. And this is kind of just from my experience from working there. I think something that's important to have is to have attention to detail. That's something that, really comes frequently in this type of job. And so you need to be able to catch like small mistakes and things like that. That was something that I definitely had to work on and am still working on. So, if that's something that you struggle with or something that you're good in, you can reflect on that. You also have to be collaborative. It is a large, international team, so you have to really be able to communicate. And I know Matt touched on that a little bit earlier in the presentation, that it does build your communication skills, but it is something that you should, potentially kind of think about is, do you like communicating in that kind of manner? Do you like, constantly having to update someone because they're not always sitting right next to you? I personally really enjoyed that aspect of it, that, you got to work with teams from everywhere. all across the world. Like I got to work with teams from Germany, Japan. Like it was super cool. When I was building emails, I would, have to like write to them, and it was kind of cool seeing their perspective on everything. Something else obviously is professionalism. That kind of goes for most companies, but that is something that's important here. And then again, like I just want to reiterate what Melissa said. You have to be willing to learn. Coming into this co-op, like I said, I didn't really know anything. It was my first co-op. I didn't know HTML either. But I think because I was willing to learn, I was interested in what I was doing every day, and it was super cool learning HTML and, just kind of learning new things about the company, learning new things about marketing and what that means in a job perspective. And of course, everyone is super willing to help as long as you're willing to learn. So those are some of my additions on that.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add to that, honestly. I think the most important one to me was the willingness to learn. You know, there really is so much to learn. There's only so many things you can come into, a co-op knowing already. Like I'm sure not a lot of people have experience with Eloqua already, but if you're co-oping for Precisely, you'll get to know what Eloqua is. So I mean, I think just like your passion for marketing itself, and your passion for learning a new skill and learning new stuff, it will show in the interview, and it will be definitely noticed.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for that. Just if we have any questions from the audience, you guys can like shout out or send it in the chat. I don't know if my chat box shows up for other people.
I can see the chat box.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. Well, if anyone else has any questions, you guys can definitely jump in. I'm just going to run to our last slide because we're getting pretty close to 8. That was great. Thank you guys so much for your like very full answers. I'm glad that we got so much out of that. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. It was awesome. For our members, next week we have a brand identity and graphic design workshop with Nathan Feld. And so that's going to be next Wednesday, September 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. It's going to be longer because it's a workshop, a little more more engaging. You're learn a skill. So yeah, join us next week, guys. And stick around if you'd like to ask our panelists any questions or you'd just like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, Rachel, and if I may, I just want to say thank you so much for having us. This is always a highlight for me every semester, and I so appreciate the opportunity to, come and revisit Northeastern, and, we're really excited about bringing on our 2021 co-op. So if you're interested in applying, please, feel free to reach out directly to me. Rachel, you have my email address, so feel free to pass that along. But yeah, no, it's been really great being here.
Awesome. Yeah, and we'd love to coordinate with you guys for next semester. Hopefully we'll be on campus. So let's cross our fingers.
Fingers crossed.
We
actually have a question.
Yeah, sorry. Marie, do you want to read it?
Yeah, sure. The question is, what is the best way to prepare for a more data-involved job in marketing while being at Northeastern? Yeah, I mean, I can talk about that a little bit. Part of that is definitely getting involved in clubs, like NUMA, and getting, joining the workshops will help you out. You'll definitely learn a lot from them, and really what you apply to like any business can be applied back to tech. A lot of, techniques and values, I guess, or things that you learn are more or less interchangeable. Obviously, there's some nuances, but it's not like it's a completely new, like, super different field. A lot of things do overlap in terms of, how we like market ourselves, what we prioritize in marketing and things like that. So I would say like joining clubs like NUMA, some other business clubs that will kind of like teach you things like that is helpful. I don't know if Matt or Melissa you probably have some more stuff to add on.
Um, I I really do believe the two of the most important classes at Northeastern, especially if you're in business or especially if you're in marketing, is CS 1100 and CS 1500. For those who've taken CS 1100 and have had a co-op, you know how important that can be. But yeah, so CS 1100 just goes over Excel. I don't think they do Access anymore, if I heard that, but they still do.
Yeah, I took it last fall and they did still have Access. It was hard, but
I haven't used
definitely
Access much,
useful.
but what you learn about Excel is really useful.
Definitely. Yeah.
And then CS 1500, I think it goes over basically HTML and how to use it. And so those have been just super vital in all of my co-op experiences, but especially working here at Precisely.
What I'd also say, just in terms of, I think Excel, to Matt's point, is super important. I learned Excel on my second co-op. That's where I learned how to do a VLOOKUP, and it changed my life, quite literally. And so I think, the great thing is there's a lot of online classes you can take to kind of work on some of your Excel skills if, you can't work the classes that Matt was talking about into your schedule. For me, it's been pretty critical being able to do a VLOOKUP and a pivot table. I'm sure you guys hear that a lot, but those were two skills that I did find really useful and important. I use them quite frequently. I'd also say, just in terms of data and kind of the way that we tend to look at data, part of that comes down to marketing automation platform, and Matt has referenced Eloqua a bit. Eloqua is one of the marketing automation platforms that we use. In the space, there are other platforms, one being Marketo is another great example. Both of those platforms, they offer online trainings, and so being able to kind of at least have a baseline understanding of what those platforms are and some of their capabilities, especially as it comes to, reporting and data, that can be really useful and really helpful. Again, that's something you probably can pick up a bit on co-op, but, take advantage of those resources that are available online. They're really powerful. And I just say too, don't underestimate the power of your network either. Reach out to friends, reach out to old coworkers. If there's something that you see that they have a skill in that you want to learn more about, specifically if it relates to data or beyond, I would just encourage you to really think about that and take advantage. I found that people are really often willing to lend a helping hand and enjoy teaching other people some of the skills that they've acquired along the way. It just feels good. So, don't overlook that either.
Thank you guys for your answers.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys so much. If there's anyone that did want Melissa's information, feel free to email contactnuma@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to forward that to you. I maybe won't put it in an email blast, so your email's just out there, but if anyone wants to contact her and look into this position a little bit more, please shoot us an email and we can definitely coordinate that. All right. Unless we have any other questions, I think you guys are all set. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'd love to set something up for next semester. This was super great.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and please, also if anybody has feedback, that they want to pass along to Rachel too, that's super helpful for us just in terms of tailoring these to make sure they're as useful as possible for all of you. So thanks so much.
Yes, absolutely. Please do that, guys. All right.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.